Has expired. Well, yeah, order. This is a split call, so yep, I'm calling Raymond Ho, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a great pleasure to take a call following that member who has just resumed his seat. I found Mr. Paul Goldsmith's historical speech or speech on history is very informing and entertaining, and it's very regrettable that that member hasn't taught us about his history, the history about the Epsom electorate. But back to this bill. I'd like to acknowledge Nikki Wagner, the good chairperson for the Local Government and Environment Select Committee, and also acknowledge the member for Waitaki, Ms. Jackie Dean. She's doing a good job bringing this bill to this House on behalf of her constituents because they have waited for too long, and obviously this bill is not her government's priority. The purpose of this bill is to... Well, calm down. This is a very serious speech about this serious bill. And the purpose of this bill is to revoke the reservation status of 2 pieces of land within the Waitaki district, which are Palmerston Showgrounds and Lot 1 DP 345820. Sounds like this bill has taken me back to the commercial property lawyers' days. And this bill seeks to clarify the status of the 3rd piece of land, which is the Lookout Point. Labour supported this bill to the Select Committee, and as my colleagues, the Honourable Annette King, the Honourable David Parker and Phil Twyford have said in their previous speeches that Labour supported this bill, and we did raise a concern about the land at Lookout Point. So the first 2 pieces of land were uncontroversial, and the issue here was whether the 3rd one, namely the Lookout Point land, was endowment land and so able to be sold, or reserve land, in which case it could not be sold. After extensive research, it was found, and the committee was satisfied, that the status of the land at Lookout Point was endowment land. At the Select Committee, we carefully considered the claims that the land was set apart as reserve in about 1862, and based on extensive research and legal advice, we are satisfied that the Lookout Point was never set apart as public reserve under the Public Reserves Act Amendment Act 1862. I agree to the opinion as expressed at the Local Government and Environment Select Committee that the word reserve in this particular context, and sounding rather interestingly, means to set apart Crown lands as endowments, and that it does not enable a public reserve to be endowed. Having said that, we note the local group, the ratepayers and concerned citizens, Chairman Warren Crawford, confirmed in January that his group continued to oppose the subdivision. It believed the land should be retained as reserve and planted in native trees, and suggested children be involved on other days. The group's biggest criticism was lack of consultation, particularly with a local members' bill which did not go to a Select Committee with the opportunity for public submissions. As a result, the bill did go to the Select Committee, and that brings us to the 4 well-beings as the purpose clause of the Local Government Bill, Government Act 2002, which this National Act government is about to ditch and replace it with a much narrower and restrictive purpose clause. Also, this bill, although relatively uncontroversial, is a good example as to how important it is for us to remember that the four well-beings, being the purpose of local government, namely the economic, social, culture, and environment well-beings, are what the local is all about.
Call Nikki Wagner.
Mr. Speaker,
I'll just make a point. Sorry.